Hello, my name is Kevin Dunn. I'm the Vice President of Software Business Development at Fekete, and today I'm going to give you a brief overview of how the F.A.S.T Piper software can work for you. F.A.S.T Piper is a gas gathering system model which incorporates reservoir, wellbore, pipeline, and facility relationships. You'll notice here that we've got a gas gathering system that has a number of different elements. We have multiple compression stations located up here and down here. We've got a number of different high pressure and low pressure pipeline scenarios. We've modeled reservoirs using CBM reservoir models, transient tight gas or shale gas reservoir models, as well as conventional reservoir models. And we've placed it all onto a GIS style map, which allows us to display as much information as we want, including things like topographical maps or even pipeline maps. With F.A.S.T Piper, you're able to go and do not only forecasting, but also do optimization work. Here we can go through, and as we roll through the different months in our forecast, we can identify areas where we have high pressure losses that are going to drop down through time. We can see areas where high pressure losses are going to get worse. And we can see how our field is going to progress. So if we're looking to add new wells into the field, or if we're looking at doing optimization work in time, we can see where we're going to have the biggest impact. For example, if we go back to the beginning of the forecast, one area of the field that may look like it has a problem is the area up in the north where we have all these wells that are highlighted in red. Let's take a closer look at those wells and see if maybe there might be an opportunity to do some optimization. Now, we could look at each individual well on its own, but Piper has a very strong diagnostic tool which allows us to determine what the deliverability is for all the wells upstream of the point where we do this deliverability curve. The plot that you see here shows two different curves and the blue dot. The blue dot is our current operating condition. It shows that we're doing just under 11 million a day at approximately 200 psi. Now, if we were to follow the red line down, this is an indication of if we were to put compression at this spot, how much more volume would all of the wells upstream of this point contribute? And you can see that we'd get up to about 13 million a day. Now, if we look at the green line on the outside, it shows us if we didn't have any pipeline losses at all, what would this part of the system be able to do? This helps us identify whether we've got frictional losses in the system or if we've got a drawdown issue. And very quickly, with just one click, we can determine which way is the best way to optimize production from our field. In this case, fixing all of our pipeline bottlenecks and lowering our pressure would get us to a maximum of about 15 million a day, which turns out to be about a 4 million a day or about a 40% improvement on what our current production situation is. Now, not only is Piper strong in doing those debottlenecking operations, but Piper also has some very strong diagnostic capabilities. For example, we may notice that we've got some low spots in our pipeline as we go up this valley up here. And one of the things we may want to know is, what is the required velocity to move liquids through that part of the system? And here you can see we've taken the Turner correlation and we've applied it into the gathering system pipelines and said, where can we move liquids and where can we not move liquids? You'll see that this pipeline is highlighted in red. That means that the gas velocity is below the required Turner velocity to move liquids through the line. Here we can identify where we're going to have liquids building up, which will be helpful for determining things like where to put pigging facilities and how often we're going to need to pig. Now, a lot of times people say, I've built models before in the past, but they haven't been reliable. So we wanted to ensure that we included tools to help us go back and verify the validity of the model that we're working with. If we go into our production plotting tool, you can see that we've taken the production history from each well and we've compared that with the forecast for each well. And we can very quickly flip through these wells and determine if the deliverability and reserves or reservoir model for each one of these wells actually represents the actual deliverability for this well, and that this model will now replicate in the future what we should expect to see based on what we've seen in the past. There's a number of other diagnostics that are included in the software to help us identify where we have, for example, a very low drawdown or where we have a very high drawdown, and that's going to help us make better decisions as far as where we should be putting our operational changes. We've also got different tools in here to add different shape files or image files. If we've loaded a shape file that has pipeline information in it, that automatically will come through. Now, another piece of information that's going to be really important is the reservoir model or reservoir description. Piper has a number of different ways to model well deliverability. So we're not requiring you to do a complete complex model if all you want to do is a quick, simple model. But we allow you to go through to build very complex transient analytical models like a fracture model, a composite model, or a horizontal model. Now, the benefit of being able to do this is that we can take into account things like big changes in rate because we're in tight transient gas like horizontal multifrac models, or we can incorporate things like if we've got high deliverability and we're very sensitive to changes in flowing back pressure. Now, if we just want to put in fixed rates or profiles where we can actually specify how the well is going to perform over time without respect to pressure at all, we can also do that. The models that you see here are analytical models that also exist in Fekete's F.A.S.T RTA software. To get those analysis from the RTA software into the F.A.S.T Piper, it's a simple import from RTA, or if you've got CBM models from the F.A.S.T CBM software, you can also load those CBM files directly through the import here. Finally, we've got a number of different functionalities such as economics tracking, where we can enter economics parameters such as our cost for pipe, our cost for delivery points, compression, and wells, and Piper will actually generate for us a net present value and a cash flow report for all of the wells, pipelines, and facilities that are in the field. But we also allow you to do a number of other calculations right inside the F.A.S.T Piper software that'll help you determine where the best place is to put those compressors in time, or how to loop those lines. For example, if we want to know how things are going to change through time, we can actually build gathering systems in time depending on how things are going to progress. So for example, let's load up another file here. We're not going to pull in those image files that we were normally using in the last file. But for example, I may want to look at what happens when I do a development out here. So I have a transient well here. This is a new well that we drilled, and our geologist believes that we've got more formation out here. Well, if I go here and say, okay, what does this look like in the development side? I can actually plan for how this field is going to develop simply by building different elements like pipeline and wells and compressor stations into the model in time. And you can see that as we go through time, we're developing a nice little new well exploitation out in this area of the field. And so we can see how that is going to impact things. And of course, we can change things like when these wells are going to be coming on. And if we want to add more in, for example, let's say we decided that now, you know what, this is the development we planned. Perhaps we want to add another well into the field. It's very easy for us to do. We can simply click where we want to put the well, and then we can pipeline that well in. And everything is done on screen, simple and easy to use. As a result, you don't need to spend a lot of time learning how to use different tools inside the software, and you can spend the majority of your time simply using the software to get a good model. F.A.S.T Piper allows you to look at the entire gathering system instead of looking at a single well or a single part of the system and trying to use complex equations together in a handwritten spreadsheet. It takes it all and puts it into a single spot, allowing you to look at your entire gathering system, all of your facilities, your reservoir, and the effects of well bores in a single spot. As a result, you take the intuitive requirement out of all of our engineering work, and you start to put hard and fast numbers against the decisions we're making. As a result, we're going to make better decisions on how to loop lines, how to forecast production from a field, and what we need to do to optimize production. F.A.S.T Piper is an easy and simple to use tool. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to contact Fekete's support team or give us a call, and we'll help you navigate through the software and come up with a model that's going to add value to your organization. Thank you.